Welcome back to the Deep End. We are back with another deep dive, and honestly, today's stack of research feels heavy. Literally and figuratively.
It really does.
I've got my Bible open, I've got about 4 different commentaries stacked up here, and I've got this feeling like we are about to read the screenplay for a movie that hasn't come out yet, but everyone is terrified of.
It does have a cinematic quality to it, doesn't it? But a very dark, intense kind of cinema.
Absolutely. We are looking at Isaiah chapter 24. And just to set the stage for everyone listening, if you've been following along with the book of Isaiah, you get into a certain rhythm. It's usually very geographical. Isaiah is like a foreign policy analyst for the 8th century BC. He's looking at a map and saying, okay, judgment is coming to Babylon. Now judgment is coming to Moab. Now Tyre. It feels like a tour of the ancient Near East.
Right. It's localized. It's specific to the politics and the nations surrounding Israel at that time.
Yeah.
Chapters 13 through 23 are basically a hit list of local nations.
Exactly, a hit list. But then you turn the page to chapter 24, and it's like someone grabbed the camera lens and zoomed out so fast it gives you whiplash.
That's a great way to put it.
The mat is gone. The specific kings are gone. The names of the cities are gone. Suddenly, we aren't talking about the Middle East anymore. We are talking about the planet.
That is the perfect way to describe it. In biblical scholarship, there's a distinct shift that happens right here.
Right.
Chapters 24 through 27 are often grouped together and called Isaiah's Apocalypse.
Isaiah's Apocalypse.
Or somewhat ironically, the Little Apocalypse.
The Little Apocalypse, which sounds like a very grim children's book.
It does sound a bit cute, doesn't it? But the little part just refers to the length. It's only 4 chapters compared to the Great Apocalypse, which would be, the book of Revelation or large sections of Daniel.
I see.
But in terms of content, there's nothing little about this. The scope is total. It is cosmic.
And that's what we are here to do today. We're going to walk through chapter 24 verse by verse. And I want to warn the listeners, this isn't a lighthearted romp. The imagery here is essentially the unmaking of the world.
Right.
But, and you promised me this in the pre-show notes, there are these flashes of incredible hope buried in the rubble.
There are. And that's the tension of apocalyptic literature. It shows you the worst thing imaginable, the dismantling of creation itself, so that you can see the only thing that actually lasts. But to get there, we have to go through the dismantling first.
One phrase that really stuck out to me in the reading, and I want to put a pin in this for later, but just to tease it, is the line about the windows from on high being open.
Yes. Verse 18, a key verse.
That gave me actual chills. Because we aren't just talking about a war or a natural disaster. It sounds like the moment where the wall between physics and spirit just dissolves.
That is exactly what it is. It's the tearing of the veil. But before the veil tears, the earth has to shake. So let's start at the beginning. Section 1, what I'd call the Great Leveling.
Okay, verses 1 through 3. Let me read this from the King James, because the language is just so stark. Behold, the Lord maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof.
Turneth it upside down.
It sounds like he's shaking out a rug. Or just grabbing the globe and giving it a good shake.
It's even more visceral than that. The Hebrew word used there is avah. It implies a twisting, a distortion, or convulsing. It's a violent action.
A convulsion.
And the word for empty, bakwa, literally means to pour out, like you're emptying a bottle or a flask. So the image Isaiah is painting is that God is taking the planet, which is usually this stable container for life. He is inverting it. He's dumping it out.
So if Genesis 1 is creation bringing order out of chaos, filling the void, this is...
Decreation.
Yeah.
Uncreation. It's the undoing of Genesis 1. In Genesis, God separates the waters. He establishes the dry land. He creates structure. Here, the structure is being dissolved. He is returning the ordered world to a state of chaos.
And when you turn a bottle upside down, everything inside falls out. Verse 2 gives us this list of who is falling out. And this is fascinating to me because usually in any crisis, whether it's a recession, a war, even a pandemic, we see that the poor get hit the hardest. Right. The rich usually have a buffer. They have the bunker, the second home, the gold bars.
Of course. Wealth and status are insulation. They insulate us from the immediate effects of disaster. But look at the pairs Isaiah lists here. He is systematically dismantling that insulation.
It says, and it shall be, as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the maid, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller.
Keep going. The financial ones are the real kicker.
As with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him.
There it is. The great leveler. Think about how much of human society is structured around these very relationships Master and servant, lender and borrower. One has power, the other is dependent. One has security, the other has anxiety. The lender thinks, I am safe because I hold the note. I hold the asset. The borrower thinks, I am vulnerable because I owe the debt.
But Isaiah says in this scenario, they are in the exact same boat.
Because the boat is sinking. If the currency collapses, if the land is emptied, the debt ledger means nothing. But neither does the bank account.
All the structures we invent to give ourselves status, they vanish.
The social hierarchy that we use to orient ourselves, I am higher up the ladder than you, is rendered completely meaningless when the ladder's kicked over.
That's a terrifying thought for modern society. I mean, we are so specialized. We have these incredibly complex hierarchies. We think, well, I'm in the professional class, I'm safe.
Or I'm in the religious leadership, I'm the priest, I have spiritual immunity.
Right, that's a big one.
And Isaiah says, as with the people, so with the priest. The religious title offers no exemption from the physical judgment. This is a total collapse of social infrastructure.
So it's not a spiritual judgment on individuals in that moment. It's a physical judgment on the entire system.
Precisely. It reminds me of the accounts of the Titanic sinking. You had first class, second class, steerage. And for the first few hours, those distinctions mattered a lot. You had better food, better music, better cabins.
But once the ship actually breaks in half,
once the freezing Atlantic water hits you, it doesn't care if you're wearing a tuxedo or rags. The ocean is the great leveler. Isaiah is predicting a moment where the entire earth faces a Titanic moment.
And verse 3 just drives the final nail in the coffin of optimism here. The land shall be utterly emptied and utterly spoiled, for the Lord hath spoken this word.
It's the certainty of it. This isn't a weather forecast. It's not, there's a 60% chance of judgment. It's a divine decree.
For the Lord hath spoken this word.
And the Hebrew emphasizes this totality. Utterly emptied is bakok tibak. It's an emphatic repetition. Empty, it shall be emptied. It's an absent.
So we have the earth is turned upside down. Society is flattened. But the burning question, and I think the question any skeptic or believer would ask is, why?
Exactly. Why is this happening?
Is God just throwing a tantrum? Is this random? And that leads us to section 2, verses 4 through 6. This seems to be the indictment, the reason for all this.
This is the moral cause of physical decay. And this is where Isaiah presents a worldview that is radically different from our modern scientific materialist worldview.
Verse 4 says, the earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. It sounds like the planet itself is sick, like it's got a fever.
It is personification, yes.
Yeah.
The earth is grieving. It's withering like a dying plant in a drought.
Yeah.
And you have to connect this to Romans chapter 8 in the New Testament.
Oh, yeah.
Paul talks about the whole creation groaning in labor pains, waiting for the redemption of the sons of God. The Bible presents this deep intrinsic link between the moral state of humanity and the physical health of the planet.
We tend to separate those, don't we? We think of environmental disasters as purely scientific issues. Carbon levels, tectonic plates, pressure systems.
Right. We look for a mechanical cause.
If the earth is fading, we look for a chemical cause. But Isaiah is drawing a straight line between human behavior, moral behavior, and the earth's reaction.
He is. And he gets very specific in verse 5. This is the legal charge. The earth is defiled under its inhabitants. That word tenef, defiled or polluted, it's a heavy word. It means it's been poisoned. And he gives 3 specific reasons why.
Okay, let's unpack these 3 charges because this feels like the heart of the legal case. Charge number 1, they have transgressed the laws.
This refers to crossing boundaries. God set up moral boundaries and natural boundaries. Transgress literally means to step over. We see a line drawn by the Creator and we say, I'm going to step over that. It's about violating the known will of God.
Charge number 2, change the ordinance.
This is interesting. Ordinance implies a statute or a fixed decree. Changing it implies we are trying to redefine reality. We take what God has established regarding the sanctity of life, regarding marriage, regarding justice, and we say, no, we have a better idea. We're going to update the software.
We're going to modernize it.
We try to rewrite the operating system of the universe to suit our preferences.
And we're surprised when the computer crashes.
Exactly. You cannot run a reality contrary to the designer's code without breaking the hardware.
And then the big one. Charge number 3, and this is the one that confused me a bit when I was studying, broken the everlasting covenant. Now, usually when I hear covenant in the Bible, my mind immediately goes to the law of Moses. I think of the 10 commandments given at Sinai. Is that what he's talking about?
That's the key question.
Because if he is, then this judgment should only be for Israel, right? The Gentiles didn't have the Mosaic law.
That is the critical question. And it's a great one. If this were just about Israel, we'd say it's the Mosaic covenant. But remember, we are in the global section now. This judgment is on Haaretz, the whole earth.
Right. The scope has changed.
So most conservative scholars agree that everlasting covenant here refers to the Noahic covenant in Genesis 9.
The rainbow covenant.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we often reduce that covenant to just God won't flood the earth with water again. It was much more than that.
So what was it then?
It was a covenant God made with all flesh, with all humanity and the animals. It established the sanctity of life. Genesis 9:6 says, "Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God made he man."
So it's a baseline for morality, a respect for life itself.
Yes, and it established the basic order of the natural world. Seasons, day and night, a stable environment for life to flourish. It was a foundational promise to all creation.
So breaking the everlasting covenant is about violence. It's about bloodshed. It's about a fundamental disregard for the sanctity of life created in God's image.
It is. In the Old Testament, the word defiled or polluted is repeatedly linked to bloodshed. Numbers 35.33 says, "Blood defileth the land." When innocent blood is shed, it's not just a crime against the victim. It acts as a spiritual toxin that poisons the very ground we stand on.
That is a haunting image. We think of sin as this ephemeral thing. Oh, I told a lie, or I hurt someone's feelings. But Isaiah is saying sin is like radioactive waste.
That's a perfect modern analogy.
If you dump enough of it into the soil, eventually the corn stops growing. Eventually the water becomes bitter.
That is the perfect illustration. Sin is a pollutant. And in verse 6, we see the result of that pollution. "Therefore hath the curse devoured the earth. The inhabitants are burned, and few men left."
Few men left. So I guess that's the silver lining. It's not total extinction. There's still someone there.
It's not total annihilation, no. But burned is a fierce image. Whether that is literal fire or the heat of judgment and plague, the result is a massive depopulation event. But yes, few men left implies survivors. Exactly. And that introduces us to the concept of the remnant, which is a huge theme in Isaiah. God always preserves the seed. He never wipes the slate completely clean.
We're going to get to that remnant in a minute, and they are doing something honestly bizarre given the circumstance.
It's a shocking turn.
But first, we have to talk about the culture that is being destroyed, because section 3, verses 7 through 12, describes the death of joy. And reading this, it sounds like the death of the entertainment industry.
It really does. It paints a picture of a society that runs on escapism, and suddenly the escapism is turned off.
Listen to the sensory details here. Verse 7, "The new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, all the merry-hearted do sigh, the joy is just gone."
The sources of joy are drying up.
Verse 8, "The mirth of tabrets ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoice endeth, the joy of the harps ceaseth."
Tabrets are tambourines. It's the rhythm section. It's the music.
So no more parties, no more concerts, no more festivals. Verse 9 says, "They shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it."
That phrase grips me. Strong drink shall be bitter. It's not just that the supply runs out. It's that even if you have the wine, it doesn't work anymore. The numbing agent stops numbing.
Wow.
The thing you reach for to escape the pain now just tastes like pain.
We use entertainment and substances to numb ourselves, don't we? To distract from the quiet dread.
We do. Think about how much of our modern economy and culture is built around mirth. Entertainment, nightlife, streaming services, sports, culinary experiences. We use these things to celebrate, yes, but often we use them to distract ourselves from the harder realities of life, from the void, from anxiety.
We're constantly trying to fill the silence.
And Isaiah is describing a moment where the distraction machine breaks down.
The music stops, and you're left in the silence with your own thoughts.
And with the reality of the judgment. And this leads to the description of the city in verse 10. The KJV calls it the city of confusion.
Is this a specific city? Is it Babylon? Is it Jerusalem, New York, London? It's likely an archetype. Just like the earth represents all humanity here, the city of confusion represents the concept of the human city civilization organized without God, the epitome of human achievement and pride.
But the name is significant.
Oh, extremely significant. In Hebrew, it's Kiryat Tohu.
Tohu. I feel like I've heard that word in Genesis.
You have Genesis 1:2. "In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void." Tohu wa bohu. Tohu means formlessness, chaos, a wasteland, a desert.
Wait. So he's calling the city, which is supposed to be the opposite of a wasteland, its structure, its architecture, its order. He's calling it the city of chaos.
Exactly. That is the divine irony. We build cities to create order. We build walls to keep nature out. We build laws to create stability. But Isaiah says if you build a civilization without the foundation of God's covenant, you haven't built order. You've just built organized chaos.
A facade of order.
Yes, you've built a city of tohu, and when judgment comes, the veneer of order is stripped away, and the chaos it was always built on is revealed. And verse 10 says, every house is shut up, that no man may come in. It's a picture of fear. Quarantine, lockdown.
Total social breakdown.
The social trust has evaporated. People are barricaded in their homes.
It reminds us of recent years, doesn't it? How quickly a vibrant city can turn into a ghost town. When fear strikes, the doors lock. The community aspect of the city dissolves into isolated units of survival.
And verse 11 is it's just sad. There is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone.
Notice what they're crying for.
They aren't crying for bread. They aren't crying for water. They're crying for wine.
They want the party back. They want the normal back. They want the anesthetic back. But the mirth of the land is gone. It captures the fragility of our modern lifestyle. We are so dependent on supply chains, on electricity, on social order. When that cracks, the city of confusion reveals its true nature very quickly. It is a city that cannot sustain itself.
This is heavy. I feel like I need a drink, but apparently it would be bitter.
It would be bitter. But as we promised, there is a pivot. We aren't left entirely in the dark. We move into section 4, verses 13 through 16a. And we find the remnant.
Right, verse 13. And the metaphor Isaiah uses is olives.
Olives and grapes. When it shall be thus in the midst of the land among the people, there shall be as the shaking of an olive tree and as the gleaning grapes when the vintage is done.
Okay, help me out with the agricultural imagery here. Is this a gentle harvest? It sounds almost quaint, gleaning grapes.
Not at all. We're used to seeing olives in a jar, but in the ancient Near East, to harvest an olive tree, you don't climb up and pick them delicately. You take a long stick and you beat the branches. You thrash the tree.
Wow, okay.
It's a violent process. The olives rain down.
So the judgment, the shaking of the earth is the beating of the tree.
Correct. The shaking of the earth is the harvest. But no matter how hard you beat the tree, a few olives get stuck way up high on the farthest branches or hidden under a leaf. Those are the gleanings, the ones left behind.
So the survivors, the remnant, are the ones who clung to the branch while the tree was being thrashed.
That's a vivid image.
Yeah.
They held on. They are the leftovers, the hard-to-find ones. It implies they aren't the majority. They aren't the big clusters. They are scattered individuals.
But look at what these scattered individuals do in verse 14. This is the plot twist. They shall lift up their voice. They shall sing for the majesty of the Lord. They shall cry aloud from the sea.
This is the shock of the chapter. The city is broken. The wine is gone. The earth is reeling. The wealthy are bankrupt. And somewhere in the distance, people are singing.
Not crying, not screaming, singing.
Singing. And it's global. It says they cry aloud from the sea. That usually means the west, the Mediterranean.
Yes, from Israel's perspective, that's the west.
And then verse 15 mentions the fires. Wherefore glorify ye the Lord in the fires.
The fires, what does that mean?
The Hebrew word there is urim, which means lights or fires. Many scholars think this refers to the east, the region of the sunrise, the land of lights. So you have the sea in the west and the fires in the east.
It's a stereophonic global chorus.
It is, from the ends of the earth.
And notice what they are singing. They aren't singing a lament. They aren't singing, why is this happening to us? They are singing, glory to the righteous one.
It is the ultimate act of faith. To stand in the wreckage of the city of confusion and recognize the majesty of God, they see that the judgment is righteous.
They're agreeing with it.
They're agreeing with it. They realize that the toppling of the corrupt systems is actually a reason to praise God, even if it's painful.
Glorify ye the Lord in the fires. That's a verse people like to put on coffee mugs or inspirational Instagram posts.
They do.
Praise God in your hard times. But it takes on a whole different meaning when you realize the fire here is the literal collapse of civilization.
It certainly does. It's not just, I had a bad day at work. It's, the world as I know it is ending. And yet I see God's hand and I will praise him. This is the aha moment for the believer. Your security wasn't in the city of confusion anyway.
You knew it was temporary.
You knew it was too. You knew it was temporary. So when it falls, your foundation remains.
It reminds me of that old saying, if you build your house on the rock, the storm comes, but the house stands. If you build it on the sand, the chaos, it falls.
Exactly. The remnant is singing because they are standing on the rock.
But, and there is always a but with Isaiah. Just when we hear the singing, the camera cuts back to the prophet himself, and he is not singing.
No, he's not.
Section 5, verse 16b.
This is the emotional whiplash of prophecy. The remnant is singing in the future vision, but Isaiah is still living in the moment of witnessing the process. He is overwhelmed. He cries out, my leanness, woe unto me."
My leanness? That's such an odd phrase. Is he on a diet? What does that mean?
It means he's wasting away. He's physically sickened by what he sees. He feels emaciated by the horror of the vision.
He feels it in his body.
He does. And what he sees specifically is treachery. The treacherous dealers have dealt treacherously. Yea, the treacherous dealers have dealt very treacherously.
He says it 3 times. Treachery.
He's emphasizing the total breakdown of trust. When the systems collapse, human nature without grace turns predatory. It's every man for himself. Neighbors betraying neighbors for food. Nations betraying treaties. Isaiah sees this predation, and it sickens him.
And this leads to the inescapable triad of verse 17. Fear and the pit and the snare are upon thee, O inhabitant of the earth.
This is a classic hunting metaphor. Imagine you are an animal in the wild. The fear, or the terror, is the noise the hunter makes, maybe beating a drum or shouting, to scare the animal out of its hiding place.
Okay, so the animal runs, it panics.
Right. It runs from the noise, but where does it run? It runs into the pit, a dugout trap that has been concealed.
And if it manages to climb out of the pit?
It steps into the snare, a mechanical trap or a net.
So the message is, you can't run, there's no way out.
You cannot escape divine judgment through human ingenuity. Verse 18 says it plainly, he who flees at the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit, and he that cometh up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare. It's comprehensive.
It's a closed system of judgment.
If you dodge the economic collapse, the social collapse gets you. If you dodge that, the environmental collapse gets you.
It sounds like a horror movie where the monster is everywhere.
It is. But then Isaiah tells us why the monster is everywhere, why there is no escape. And this brings us back to that phrase I mentioned at the start, verse 18b. For the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth do shake.
The windows from on high. Now, I know my Bible a little bit. That phrase is used in Genesis, right? During the flood.
Yes. Genesis 7:11, the windows of heaven were opened. In the ancient worldview, there was a firmament, a barrier, separating the earth from the chaotic waters above. When the windows opened, the waters rushed in. It was the undoing of the boundary.
But here in Isaiah, isn't God promising not to flood the earth with water again? That was the Noahic covenant. So what is rushing in?
That is the terrifying question. If it's not water, what is it? The context suggests it's judgment. It's spiritual reality. It's the raw power of God breaking through into our dimension.
This is what I meant by the tearing of the veil. We live our lives thinking the physical world is a closed system.
Absolutely.
Cause and effect, physics, politics. We think we can explain everything naturally.
Right. The economy crashed because of interest rates. The earthquake happened because of tectonic plates. The war started because of resources.
But Isaiah says there is a moment coming where the windows open, the roof comes off the house, and suddenly the supernatural intervenes directly into the natural.
And that changes everything. Because when the windows open, you can no longer pretend God is absent. The judgment becomes undeniable. It signifies that what is happening is not just bad luck, it is a visitation. People will look up and realize, this isn't nature. This is him.
There's no other explanation.
None. The evidence becomes overwhelming.
And the physical earth reacts violently to this opening. Verses 19 and 20 describe the earth reeling to and fro like a drunkard.
It's a dizzying metaphor. The planet has lost its orbit, its stability. It also says it shall be removed like a cottage or a hammock. Think of a flimsy garden shed in a hurricane. It's blown away.
A temporary shelter.
Exactly. The planet we think of as this permanent solid rock is revealed to be as fragile as a hut.
And again, Isaiah gives us the cause in verse 20. The transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it.
Sin is heavy. That's the physics of the spirit. We think of sin as light. Oh, it's just a lie. It's just a little greed. But Isaiah visualizes the accumulated weight of human rebellion as a crushing burden on the planet's structural integrity. The earth cracks under the weight of our sin.
So the earth is reeling, the windows are open, and now that the windows are open, we can see what was happening up there all along. This brings us to section 6. The judgment isn't just for us humans.
No. And this is where the deep dive gets really deep. Verse 21. It shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth.
Okay, stop. The host of the high ones that are on high. Who are we talking about? Is this aliens?
Not aliens, though I'm sure some internet forums would argue that. In the context of the ancient Near East, and frankly the New Testament, these are the spiritual powers, the fallen angelic beings.
The principalities and powers Paul talks about in Ephesians 6, the rulers of this dark world.
Exactly. Paul says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. The biblical worldview is that behind the kings of the earth, the human political leaders, there are spiritual forces at work.
So Isaiah is pulling back the curtain. He's saying, you think that dictator or that corrupt government is the ultimate problem? No, there is a puppet master.
Yes. There's an as above, so below dynamic. The rebellion on earth mirrors a rebellion in the heavens. And when God judges, he doesn't just judge the puppets, the human kings. He judges the puppeteers.
The high ones.
The high ones.
That is incredibly significant. It means the cleanup is total. He's not just fixing the symptoms, he's removing the cause of the disease.
And look at what happens to them in verse 22. They shall be gathered together, as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited.
Gathered in the pit, shut up in prison. This sounds extremely familiar.
It should. It connects directly to Revelation 20. John sees a vision of the dragon Satan being bound with a great chain and thrown into the abyss, the pit, for 1,000 years, to be shut up in prison.
So Isaiah saw the same thing centuries earlier.
The same vision, the same end game. The imprisonment of the spiritual forces of evil.
And it says, after many days shall they be visited. That implies a timeline, a sentence they are put in holding.
Yes, it implies that evil, both human and spiritual, is contained. It's removed from the board. God is clearing the chessboard.
And once the board is cleared, once the high ones are in prison and the corrupt kings are judged, what happens?
The king takes his throne. Verse 23. Then the moon shall be confounded, and the sun ashamed, when the Lord of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem and before his ancients gloriously.
The ultimate victory.
The final scene of the movie.
I love this image of the sun and moon being ashamed. Why are they ashamed? Did they do something wrong?
It's beautiful poetic language. Think about it. The sun and moon are the brightest objects in our reality. They are the sources of light. They are the symbols of glory for every pagan religion.
Right, they were worshipped as gods.
But when God reigns in Zion, when his glory is fully unveiled, he is so bright, so radiant, that the sun looks like a cheap flashlight held up next to a supernova.
It's comparison.
Yes. The sun is ashamed because it realizes it is dim by comparison. Its glory is nothing.
That connects directly to Revelation, too.
It's the same vision as Revelation 21.23. And the city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon, to shine in it. For the glory of God did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof.
So Isaiah 24 and Revelation 21 are basically describing the same finish line?
They are bookends. Isaiah 24 is the little apocalypse leading to the kingdom. Revelation is the great apocalypse leading to the New Jerusalem. They tell the same story. The deconstruction of the old corrupted world, the judgment of the powers behind the corruption, and the establishment of a kingdom of pure light.
Man. Okay, we have covered a massive amount of ground. We've gone from the earth being turned upside down to the social order collapsing to the city of confusion to the singing remnant to the imprisonment of fallen angels and finally to the glory of God shaming the sun.
It is a lot to process.
So let's try to land this plane. For the person listening to this, maybe they are driving to work, maybe they are folding laundry. What does this mean for us right now? We aren't living in the literal tribulation, hopefully. But we certainly see cracks in the world.
Oh, for sure.
We see the city of confusion every time we turn on the news.
I think there are 3 big takeaways for the modern listener.
Hit me.
First, look at the fragility of our systems. Isaiah 24 is a wake-up call. It warns us not to put our ultimate trust in the city. Our economy, our supply chains, our political alliances, our social status. Isaiah reminds us these can be emptied in a moment.
They're not as stable as they look.
If your sense of security is built on the stability of the city of confusion, you are vulnerable. You are building on sand.
That's a sobering reality check. It means we need to hold our material security loosely.
Very loosely. Second, we need to recover the connection between morality and reality. We cannot change the ordinance, redefine right and wrong, treat life cheaply, break the covenant without consequences.
There are real-world effects.
Yes. We need to understand that our moral choices have weight. They impact the world around us. We are stewards, and the earth mourns when we sin. That's not just poetry. It's a spiritual principle.
And the third?
The third is the hope of the remnant. This is the encouragement. Even when the world is shaking, even when the wine is gone and the music stops, you can sing.
Glorify the Lord in the fires.
Yes. If you know the righteous one, you don't have to fear the shaking. You are the gleaning on the olive tree. You are preserved. Your identity isn't citizen of the city of confusion. It's citizen of Zion. And Zion is the one mountain that never falls.
That is a powerful place to stand. It changes how you read the news. Instead of just seeing chaos, you see the birth pains of that final kingdom. You see the setup for the king.
Exactly. You see the bigger story playing out.
Well, I feel like I need to sit in silence for about 20 minutes just to absorb all that. But I want to leave everyone with one final thought to chew on. We talked about those windows from on high opening.
Yes.
We live in a world that is obsessed with natural explanations for everything. We want a scientific reason, a political reason, an economic reason for every crisis. And that's fine. That's how we cope. But Isaiah challenges us to ask a very uncomfortable question. What happens when the explanation is no longer natural?
What happens when the data points don't add up, when our models fail?
Exactly. What happens when the cause is clearly, undeniably supernatural? Are we ready to see what is actually behind the curtain of our reality? Are we ready for the windows to open?
And are we ready to meet the king who steps through them?
That is the question. Thank you for diving deep with us today. Read Isaiah 24 this week, maybe with the lights on, and maybe, just maybe, start practicing that song from the ends of the earth. We'll see you next time.